when we spoke in the past, I think you talked about how it sort of impacted on the way you felt about your own health as well. Made you much more aware of your own heart, if you like.
Yeah, I became very, very anxious. I grew up playing football. I done a lot of running. A lot of people used to go on about how fit I was, but after my dad, I became very anxious about my own health. It started affecting my sleeping patterns. It affected my taking part in sports because I'd start panicking as soon as my heart started going quicker, which is obviously just second nature when you're working out. But the biggest struggle was when it came to bedtime at night. I would start suffering from anxiety because obviously that's where my dad had his cardiac arrest, was in his bed. So I'd go to bed getting ready for work, so I'd be in bed at 10, 11 o'clock and I'd still be awake at 3 in the morning. Heart beating out my chest, sweat pouring off me, couldn't sleep. I felt like I got it into my head that I was having a heart attack. I would start getting pains across my arm, but I knew it was all in the head. But because it's what my dad experienced, it's just mind games the whole time. And that went on for months because I didn't go and speak to anyone, because I felt it was easier for me to deal with it on my own, because I feel that if I speak to somebody else in the family, it then brings them back down to thinking about my dad and everything that we've been through. So I kind of just locked myself away, apart from my girlfriend. I had to kind of try and cope with it when I was lying beside her, but she was very good. But like I say, I suffered quite bad with anxiety.
And did you cope with that entirely on your own, or with the support?
I did get offered to go and speak to self-help, but it's not something that I've ever wanted to do. So like I say, I tried coping on my own, and I was given medication at some point from the doctors, but because they were beta blockers, it then affected my personal life with my activities, because obviously when I did take them I became quite tired, and which then stopped me from doing my activities. So I stopped taking the medication myself as well after just a couple of weeks, and I actually found that writing down my thoughts and how I felt at the time was a good way for me, because it was getting that weight off my shoulders, but I wasn't having to physically talk to anyone else and start getting emotional and worry about how they then felt, where it just kind of kept myself to myself. But it's still...
So did you start writing a diary? Or what did you do?
What I'd done is I just started writing down how I felt at the time, just different things I was thinking about, and then I actually developed it because I'd done a charity event a year after my dad passed away. I'd done Land's End to John O'Groats, so I cycled that in memory of my dad, because it was my dad that got me into my cycling, so I thought it'd be a good way to raise money for charity. So once I'd done that, the things that I started writing down actually then developed into a book, which is now been published, and I'm now selling for raising more funds for charities as well, because I'm hopefully going to start, well, I've got 2 public access defibs into the community, one in my childhood hometown Lochmaben, and one where I stay now in Dumfries, and I'm hoping to progress and get them all within 2 or 3 miles each other if I can keep them going.